How y'all doing? Good afternoon. Watch out. But anyways, as y'all can see, I'm driving. Obviously, don't want to offend anybody. Don't care if you are offended, though. I will say that because ultimately, this isn't something that should um, just be hearsay or it should already be known. I want to speak on behalf of consequences and how every decision that we make ultimately does have an impact on oh, somebody else or ourselves. And like we've gotten to the point now in our society where people feel like because they chose to do something that they're not bound by their decision, but it's not true and it's not realistic. Um, if you drink alcohol every day and go driving, and you've done it 2,000 times, but one time you get pulled over and you get a DUI, you can't be upset with the cop for the one time that you got caught because you say that you do it all the time. Doing something all the time doesn't mean that one, it's normal to do, or two, that it's okay to do, or three, that you're not gonna get punished for doing it. Um, the number one thing that I can speak on behalf of is sexual intercourse and having children. If you are having sex to not have children and you're not married, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Now, I'm not here to sound like a hypocrite. Yes, I've had sex before I was married. Obviously, not very, you know, proud of that decision in myself. I do feel the emptiness. I feel how I don't necessarily say I regret because I can't change it, and dwelling on something is just gonna hurt me deeper. But ultimately, I do. If I could change things, I would. But it is what it is at this point. Can't change it. So I have to deal with that, and emotionally and mentally, you do something to yourself when you choose to involve yourself with somebody else because you're giving yourself away in the most private part of your life, and you're sharing that with somebody else's most private part. And I'm not saying private part like the private area, but I mean against that too. But I just mean intimacy in general. And if you procreate out of that exchange of each other, you'll have a child together, and you're not married. I would highly recommend that you get married. Um, I don't think that people should just start relationships from children, but I believe that if you already have children, there's nothing that you can lose from being in a relationship with that person. Um, and if you're having children with somebody who's not responsible, or you're having children with somebody who is just selfish, then you're the one to blame, not them. You can't necessarily, for example, if I go sleep with a girl who sleeps around and she gets pregnant, has the baby, and then gives me the baby and tells me that she doesn't want to stop sleeping around, if I didn't do proper research on her, and I don't mean like looking her up on like Instagram, I mean like communicating with her prior to even being involved with her, knowing everything about her, meeting her family, her friends. And I know you can have stuff hidden from you, but that's why you don't just involve yourself with people intimately within weeks or days of knowing them or even months. Um, if you do, then you're still to blame because ultimately you chose for yourself. You're an adult. If you're not an adult, then you definitely shouldn't be involving yourself with somebody in an intimate way, anyways. But whenever you have children, that's I don't know if y'all can hear that GPS. It was in my headphones, so maybe not. But anyways, um, whenever you involve another life, it everything you do is gonna have a consequence. Literally, like if you have kids and you don't talk to them as they grow up, they're gonna be detached from you. If you have children and you're not ever exposing them to new things, they're not gonna be comfortable trying new things. If you're not helping your kids affirm that they are loved, they're not gonna feel loved, and they're gonna be more susceptible to just thinking when somebody tells them that they love them, that they just want to ultimately touch them and stuff like that, and say that that is love. They're gonna believe it, and they're gonna be on a very downward path. I don't know. It's just very scary in the times that we live in now, where you could tell a child that they don't have to be what they are. I'm not trying to start a controversial conversation, but if a 8-year-old little girl tells me that she's a little boy, and I affirm that she is a little boy, despite knowing that genetically she is not a little boy, then as she gets older and she's affirming that she's a little boy, and then she meets people that egg on the thought of it, and then they tell her that she's a gay boy because she's attracted to men still, and then she gets pregnant, you just shattered her whole idea of what being a boy was, because boys don't have children. Men can't have babies physically. So if they do go through with the surgery, um, if you allow someone to have surgery to change their identity, that's not very loving. And the fact that the majority of transgender suicides aren't from them being harassed, but them not being satisfied still from their surgery. Because there's hotlines that are literally just overflowing with calls from people who regret having the surgery because it didn't help them feel better, or it didn't help them at all. Because ultimately they were just um, convinced that it was just going to fix everything, and it didn't. Because a physical alteration of yourself is not going to fix a mental or emotional process that's going on inside of your body. If I'm depressed and I think changing my hair color is going to fix it, it's not. If I'm, just bipolar and I think getting a tattoo is going to fix it, it's not. And I don't know, ultimately, I feel like the way everybody just allows people to just do them, as long as it's not hurting anybody, I think that's very irresponsible. And I don't know, I just can't get this. If you have a child, I've never met my dad. The desire's not there either, so it is what it is. But if I had a child at this point in my life, I don't, even if the girl left me, or first I would be married. But let's say, hypothetically, I had sex with somebody and they had a baby and we weren't married, I would want to pursue them to marry them. Even if they were, even if they were sleeping with me and other people, like, I would have enough respect for my child to get with the mother and hope that that would be a boundary that we can cross on behalf of like building our family. Because not everybody's going to be perfect. Not everybody's going to be willing to like try. So I don't know. I would have to put on my big boy pants on that one and just swallow some pride. Because ultimately, I still chose that person for myself. See, people always get caught up in thinking like, oh, somebody did me wrong and all this stuff. But it's like you chose them. Like if I was with somebody and she told me she did heroin and I was hanging out with her and then I was like, don't do heroin. And she was like, I've been doing heroin for 6 years, but I'll stop doing heroin. Okay. And then y'all break up and you find out that she did heroin. Like, you can't say that your trust has just been violated, because I'm not necessarily saying like somebody's past is just always who they're gonna be, but everybody's past has something to do with who they are and how they've been molded in their life. Like, if you're not, and I'm just talking about people who aren't, living for God, because ultimately, if you're living for God, the standard of how you're going to live your life is based on the Bible. That's your ultimate authority. If your life isn't based on God and the Bible, then, I mean, you're just going to live for feelings, satisfactions, just temporary fake love. Your idea of love is going to be based on emotions and what somebody can do for you. And ultimately, I just think that's silly and irresponsible. And I don't know, I just wish people would be more mindful of who they're involving themselves with, why they're involving themselves, and ultimately just understanding that if something comes out of that involvement, that's something that they have to deal with, whether it be a child, whether it be STDs, whether it be physical or mental trauma or emotional trauma or just lack of self-esteem, anything. Like, you're going to be responsible and accountable for everything that you feel, and nobody else can really, nobody's going to be able to, build you up. And it's nobody's responsibility to help build you up either. That's all I wanted to say.